Okay, here we go, guys. Bam!
Hey, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about more sustainability stuff.
Sustainability, yes. We are going to continue our sustainability series.
Okay.
Reviewing the same stuff that we reviewed before, only in this time we have props, and we also have some slides, and we have data instead of just yakking about it.
Yeah, and it was actually kind of fun. Prior to turning on the camera and mics, we were speculating on other topics, which were kind of fun.
I'm drinking coffee.
Yes, yes, he is drinking coffee. Okay. Big wink.
Yep. Hey,
Okay.
everybody. I know this will date the day, but happy Irish Day.
What?
Yeah. You see, you're wearing green.
I am.
Right here. Right here.
Oh yeah. I am.
Yeah, there you are.
I have green. I am colorblind, so you're wearing brown.
No, I'm wearing the hemper colors.
The hemper colors.
Yeah, all right.
Sorry.
Hemper
He's wearing-
phi.
he must
Hemper phi.
be- Hemp, oh.
Hemper phi
he's
to
green.
all you hemper Marines out there. So
I love it. Go. Hemper
all right.
phi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hemper psi. It's more like it. Sorry.
Okay.
Hey,
I think I need to have some more coffee.
We're really glad you're here.
Yes, we're happy.
And
Thank
you know what?
Thank you for being here.
So
This is about the time when they with the chatbot.
Like, am I staying?
These
Am
guys
I
are like
leaving?
five minutes in, and they're not talking about
they're
anything.
doing-
What are they doing?
They just give each other shit all the time. It's kind of fun.
Well,
see, that's what
okay.
happens.
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's
because-
good to see you, by the way.
It's good to be seen.
Yeah, we've been busy.
We have been. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
yeah, it's been crazy.
Yes.
Randall's on the phone all day, every day, into the evening.
Yeah, I wear these because otherwise you'll see my ears that are like this, all swollen up from the phone.
That's from me giving you the right hook. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, boom, boom. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Some other things of note. We have had another incident in our facility.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's
Really?
it's under investigation right now by our quality staff. And, quarantine. It involves quarantining of several kilos worth of materials. So just
Did
want
you
to let you know
fire
it's
anybody?
very serious.
Did you fire anybody?
No, in this case, it was actually caught by our QC staff.
Really?
So yes, and so there's some
Serious.
interesting things happening.
This is serious business.
Yeah, it is very serious. So make sure that you go to our YouTube channel
Film at 11.
and check that out because it's very serious.
Okay.
Yeah, and we don't
YouTube.
know what happened.
I can't wait to see it. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah. So
Okay. Serious business. Check out the YouTube
Yeah.
for the incident at the OK Corral. I mean, at the extract lab facility.
all right. So today.
Three.
Ladies and gentlemen, my favorites. We are going to be talking today about sustainability again. Like I said, this is kind of a subject that we've been developing. If you have tuned in, what was it, last week or the week before last? I don't know.
Week. It was last week.
Yeah, I mean, we had just kind of like a chalk talk on it, where we kind of just identified some of the issues. We went through them.
This is a tree.
And
another little cloud.
What I have now, since that time, I put it into slides, and I've given the talk again.
Oh, wow.
And then I've actually, once I gave that talk, then I added more data to it.
You put legs on it.
I put some more legs on it, yeah. And I kind of, it's kind of gelling, you know what I mean?
So it is kind of like the paint thing.
Yeah,
You
it's
added a cloud
yeah,
here and
added
a tree
cloud here,
there.
little happy tree here, little sustainable operation there.
I love it. And I like the title.
Oh yeah, three key
factors.
In
For
fact,
A.
I'm sure there's more than three, but you know,
I'm a little stuck though. 3 key factors for A.
sustainable operation.
Sustainable operation.
For A, or for B, sustainable operation, or for
I like
C.
it. I like it. And
All right.
I love the colors you chose.
Oh yes, yeah. I was just trying to keep it mellow and dark.
Those are the colors I see all the time.
All right. So the not really the inspiration, but the
Look at this.
We started to look at this. This has been popped up. This is from a paper published in Nature by a graduate student who is in Colorado, and she was talking basically about sustainable operations and how. Operations in cold climates are apparently they have a very large footprint.
Okay.
And so she came up with a model, and she put in there, heating and cooling costs, and the carbon generated from that, and whether they're using natural gas or whether they're using oil.
Sure.
And they also had things like if it was a greenhouse model versus an outdoor model, and they showed that was an improvement if it was outdoor or in greenhouse, because obviously you're using the sun and stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly.
So they popped it into a model, and then out popped this beautiful infographic where apparently the red or the dark red areas are bad, and all the light yellow areas are good.
Hey, April, they say Alaska is bad.
That's because it costs them a lot to heat. Apparently.
That's right. Well,
although in California, I have to say, cooling costs, kind of trump heating costs. But their argument is that since they're using natural gas, it's less of a carbon footprint than if you were using hydrocarbon-based oil.
well, based on this model, I think it looks like Illinois and Indiana. Mostly Illinois and Missouri is screwed.
Bad. They're bad. You don't want to buy cannabis from those areas.
Touch it,
because you will be contributing to the giant carbon footprint. So, in Colorado, the emissions levels resulting from cannabis cultivations are on par with polluting industries like coal mining and waste management.
Wow.
Yikes. Okay, so this is something that is going to
interesting
get traffic, get traction. People are going to start looking at ways to
and this just came out about a week ago.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So, and then of course there's people getting on the bandwagon here, saying, hey, weed's next big problem is the wrong type of green. Now, weed, I would say that hemp typically is grown outdoors. I mean, so you hemper guys, you guys are doing good, in fact, because the only real carbon that you emit is from the tractors that you use to grow, that you use to plow the fields. Okay. Yeah. So you guys are good. But really the large amounts of carbon that's generated really has to do with an indoor grow. Okay.
Oh, sure.
And then the lights and all of that stuff.
Yep.
So
timers, lights, water.
Here's a quotation. An investigation of an indoor cannabis cultivation across the U.S. revealed each kilogram of dried cannabis flower results in 2,283 to 5,184 kilograms of carbon dioxide emissions, depending on the geographic location. So that's a lot. That's like every kilo is like driving a car for a year.
Kilo.
That's what they were saying.
I drive my Jeep for 1 year and it cost me a kilo.
Apparently it will produce anywhere from 2,283 to 5,184 kilograms of carbon dioxide by driving your car for one. Actually, it's kind of amazing because...
All right, I get it now. I wasn't tracking.
Well,
now
it's actually kind of amazing because of the, the cars are really efficient.
They are.
They pretty are. They pretty are efficient, man.
Pretty are.
Okay, so sources of emission: heating, cooling, emissions, natural gas versus oil energy. Just some of the things that they had: water, fertilizer. Okay, propane versus CO2 source for the CO2. Plants like CO2. Every greenhouse in the whole entire world has they put CO2 in an enriched CO2 environment. And then waste materials and CO2 bottled materials. So I'm just not going to go over this geography because they're variable. So geography, greenhouse lights, HVAC. I think that the main the main contributor to the study, it really was the HVAC side. I think cooling, obviously in the western states, especially like in California, there's huge cooling bills compared to the U.S. In the Midwest or whatever. Yep. So, but they're good. They're more gooder because of the.
they're gooder.
Yeah, because of the natural gas aspect of that. So, okay, so here's 5 keys to sustainability. Oh, it went from 3 to 5.
I like that consistency.
Great. Yeah, that's really good.
Or are we scaling up?
I don't know. Okay, so extraction type. This is now so that everything we talked about prior was really had to do with an indoor grow, and they kind of excluded the people who grow outdoors. And now what we're going to talk about now is the actual production.
Okay.
So extraction type, energy usage, heat load, waste generation, and VOC emissions.
Yes.
Those are the those are the five sustainability factors.
Emissions last time.
Yeah, we did.
Yep.
And so we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Wow.
And then also the waste generation. We did talk about that. But I put some numbers on it this time. So I got some numbers. So I did a little bit of calculations on that. And so we can see how
I like them. Any tables?
Yeah, there's a table at the end.
Sweet.
All right, just kind of a summary table. Yeah.
Bonus table.
All right, so extraction type. We got water, we got butane, we got CO2, we got ethanol, we got perfluorinated fluids.
Why do you have a cat next to butane?
I don't know. I can't
awesome.
reveal. I cannot reveal why I have a cat there.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I would have put the cat down by fluorinated fluids.
and then the perfluorinated fluids has the syringe.
Yes,
Yeah,
I see
I don't know about that. So there's lots of different extraction types. By far, the most let's say popular ones are ethanol, CO2, and butane.
Got it.
Yep. Those are the most popular.
Truth.
People do use perfluorinated fluids. By the way, I don't think you should use perfluorinated fluid. I just want to go on the record saying that simply because I'm against it. I'll tell you why I'm against it.
Okay.
It's just because you can't really measure for residuals. Perfluorinated fluids don't show up in the UV, and you can't really measure if it's without very advanced equipment. And it's very hard to do, in fact, because it sticks to everything and it will, and including in your body, and it's endocrine disruptors typically, so you don't, perfluorinated fluids are like totally man-based. They don't go away because they're fluorinated. They have a very high stability. They biomagnify when you have them, and you take them internally, and you can't measure them. So you can say, oh, well, my extract is perfectly clean, but you can't measure it. So in my view, I would not use a perfluorinated fluid.
Which is, and just the name alone is why you would use the cat icon, perfluorinated fluids.
I should have. I don't know. I didn't think about that, but
I'm going to pay me the big bucks.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to move it down.
Thank you.
Okay.
That makes me feel better.
We'll see what other icons here. So let's talk about ethanol first. Okay, because. Okay, so the first one, ethanol is key extraction technique and solvent. It is. Okay, cheap equipment is readily available.
Yes,
this is one of the reasons. Denatured ethanol is cheap and plentiful, and it's lower tech. You don't have to have tremendous amount of certifications and stuff. You can just go, put the equipment together, and it's not a very high tech thing. And then, is the ethanol a green solvent? Is ethanol a green solvent technique? ? That's the question for you guys. So we're gonna go on to the next slide, which is ethanol extraction needs a lot of ethanol.
Ethanol.
We know about that. So here we have ethanol as a key extraction technique. It's been used by a lot of people, and the ethanol is cheap, and that's why it's being used.
1-to-1.
And it's easy to get in. People want to have the least amount of money in, and if they need to get out, they're not losing so much money. So it's, that's a lot of the reasons, getting in, getting out. But one of the things about ethanol is that you need to have a lot of ethanol around if you want to do biomass, right?
Sure.
If you want to extract it. So you need about 1 gallon of ethanol per pound of biomass. So if you're going to do 2,000 pounds, you need 2,000 gallons of ethanol around.
It's a lot.
So and then the other thing would be reuse operations. So you can recycle a lot of that. That's the argument, is you can recycle a lot of it, but the ethanol, you tend to lose some of that ethanol every time you recycle it. So there's, anywhere from 5 to 10% you're losing every time you do your cycle. And then your reuse operations need to comply with the FDA guidelines. If you guys want to go look at some of our other podcasts, we've really talked about what those FDA guidelines are. We're not going to really review them here. But one of the things that you really need to think about when you go and select the solvent, like water doesn't have any footprint on it. That's just readily available. It's a natural substance, right? CO2 also is another substance. I'll tell you right now, and here's a spoiler alert, and that is that it is not, typically the CO2 that we're using is basically been captured from an industrial process. So you're not actually burning CO2 to get that CO2. It's already there.
Gotcha.
So like from fermentation, for example, it will be harvested from fermentation. However, ethanol is totally different. You're talking about, hundreds of thousands of BTUs per gallon of ethanol that's required just to make that ethanol. So
Just to
you
make
have
1 gallon.
1 gallon.
131,000 BTUs.
That's from corn oil.
To make 1 gallon of
Right.
ethanol.
That's from corn. Okay, so not all the ethanol comes from corn, but that is a major source of currently of ethanol, mostly because it's highly subsidized, and people, basically due to farming and things like that.
I'm making another questionable note over here and saying, why do we put this in our cars?
Yeah, well, this guy, this Cornell scientist, who's a real scientist, he's saying, hey, why are we burning our food?
Yeah.
If you didn't have the subsidy, you wouldn't really be doing this. And so the subsidy is actually driving the ethanol industry, which is then driving all the BTUs of that are used to create it. And those BTUs are basically carbon that's being emitted, right?
Wow.
So Burr's thermal units is unit of energy, essentially, and energy is essentially carbon. So, all right. So ethanol is quite unsustainable from that standpoint. And they're not the only ones to say that. This is a study by Stanford. They are saying that they kind of slice the numbers in a little bit of a different way, okay? And you can see how they're bringing it all the way up from, here's all the fuel, here's the irrigation and everything, and they're coming up with 53,000 to produce 1 gallon of ethanol, okay? So just to let you know that there is some, depending on how the numbers are sliced and diced, you'll get this, 53 to 131,000, but still, everybody agrees it's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Okay. So 10 gallons of ethanol are used to fluidize 1 pound of hemp. That is absolutely not true.
No.
I put that in there to see if you would catch it.
Not true.
No, it's one gallon.
It's 1 to 1.
Yeah, so the little decimal point's missing there. But I put a big circle around that with an arrow there, just so you can see that, okay, whether you believe the Cornell guys or the Stanford guys, it really just depends on how you slice and dice those numbers. Okay. So other environmental concerns associated with, the production of ethanol, which you're using in your extraction, and that's has to do with erosion, soil erosion, use of water, obviously, and all that. Yeah, so, groundwater, those are all things that are kind of like, we don't really think about them, but they have a huge environmental impact. So it's not only the amount of energy it takes to create and use ethanol, but it's also what it does to the population.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Farmers are there to really manage these risks, these environmental risks, and they do a very good job of doing that, I think. They are all about the groundwater. They don't want to have a resource that's, clearly unsustainable. But the way that we've done it, where it takes more energy to produce 1 gallon of ethanol than that gallon of ethanol will produce in energy, it's actually using more energy than it's making. So that's a big issue. So. So you're going to get the ethanol now, and you're going to start to use it as a solvent for ethanol extraction, right? Mm-hmm. So the way that works is you have to take your ethanol and you have to reduce the temperature on your ethanol, right? Okay. So that it doesn't, dissolve. For example, the undesirable stuff within the hemp. Yep. And then you need to evaporate it. And then, in other words, then once it's there, you remove it from the filter it through your hemp. Then you need to evaporate that, and then you need to, condense that evaporated. Sure. So that's the process. It's basically taking your ethanol, putting it into your hemp, and then chilling it down while you're stirring it, and then removing that ethanol from the hemp, squeezing out the ethanol out of your hemp, discarding that hemp, and then evaporating the ethanol off, and then condensing that ethanol so you have a pure ethanol that's being reused. Okay, so that's the process. Mm-hmm. So the energetics of this really has to do with two things. One is really the chilling, electrical on chilling, and the electrical on evaporation. Yeah, and these are the two key processes. So for every 2,000 pounds processed, if you just do the quick calculations, this is physics. You really can't get around it. A 63-degree change in your, basically you're going from 25 degrees Celsius up to the boiling point, or right around there to evaporate it.
To evaporate it.
Okay, yeah, you're talking about $423 per day, and also a lot of energy to do that. That's, so you can see that's how much that energy is costing you.
That's for every ton processed.
That's for every ton processed. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the chilling side would be, would be that similar. You'd have to chill that down. And you can see that you're talking about $1,000 a day, due just to chilling. So you add those two together, the $1,400 and the $1,000 to process. You got $1,400 just in electrical, chilling and cooling. Now that's also not including the heat load that equipment produces in the building.
Well, that's true.
So when you're chilling, you're actually dumping the heat. You got to dump the heat somewhere, right?
Yep.
If it's dumped in your building,
Yep.
then it's got to then you got to chill your building down.
Yep.
You have to cool your building down with HVAC, or if your chillers are outside, which I know some of them are, then it's just let off into the atmosphere, and that's not a big deal. But when you're heating and cooling, the evaporation. So you're heating up a bunch of liters of ethanol, okay?
Yeah.
That's going to be in a room or in a facility, and then you have to chill that room down because you have heat loss to the room.
You do.
So those are things that you need to also think about that I have not addressed here, but that's really what you're looking at for recurring costs there. The second thing, when you do ethanol is you have, remember what I said, you wring out the hemp. Okay, well, you really can't wring it out 100%. People do like centrifuges, and some people heat it up, but then you have electrical to heat it up. You have the electricity to heat it up and try to desorb it. Yep. But what happens is that just like a cloth or some sort of biomass, it's going to sit there and sorb it up, and it's hard to get it. It's hard to get 100% recovery. It's almost impossible. Yeah. So because some of the ethanol is going to sorb onto the outside of it.
It's going to stay. Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to stick.
Yeah. And about 5% of the best. Some people say they can get 99% recovery. Maybe you can do that once, in your demo, but under normal operation, you're losing ethanol.
Yeah.
I mean,
not a chance.
No matter what you do. So I think if you want to use 95%, is probably a really good number.
So if you do salad spinner is not quite an adequate way to get that out.
No, it's not. It's not 100%. It's not 100%. Nothing's 100%.
I can get that
right?
sucker spinning fast.
Yeah, I bet you can. So if you got 30 gallons per cycle, you do a bunch of cycles so that you're processing 2,000 pounds per day. Or 1 ton a day. You got 1.5 gallons lost per cycle. That's 246 gallons will be left in the biomass at the end of the day. So that's for 2,000 pounds. That 246 gallons is expensive. You can see it's $8,575 if you use food grade ethanol.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not only you have a high energy cost, but you also have a high loss cost, and you can go in there and change that number to 99. Or if you think you really want to take your business plan and flush it down the toilet by putting in an unrealistic number. Yeah. But that's all right.
Yeah. Don't do it because you're not.
No, it doesn't matter. You're still going to have a lot of loss.
Yeah. This is going to be it.
But all of that, my point is not so much the cost of that. My point is that the 246 gallons is going to desorb in the sun, or when you compost it or whatever you do, that's going to be VOC.
Wow.
So that you are actually now, it's like a double, triple, quadruple whammy, because not only is it costing you 131,000 BTUs to create the ethanol in the first place, you're losing it, so you're sending it off into the atmosphere, and then you're also spending a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of BTUs on heating and chilling to actually do it. So it's a very, very inefficient technique, from that standpoint. So there's a lot of pros and cons, though, to every technique, of course, and we're just kind of highlighting some of the cons. Sure. But that doesn't mean there's not pros, okay? So pros of that, lower cost startup. That's something you really know. The equipment doesn't cost as much because it doesn't require the same amount of engineering. I mean, it's super simple. It's low tech. Ethanol has a higher solvent strength. It'll dissolve everything, it'll dissolve your tongue. In fact, if you drink it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. But, I don't know. It is St. Patrick's Day.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
And I have had to taste Everclear. on this very show.
He was just, where's the water? Where's the water? The cons are VOC emissions driven by ethanol losses. And, you can go and, make your own assumptions and calculate them.
Right.
If you'd like to do that, you can go to extractlab.com/calculators, and there's a calculator on there that'll help you do that. But if you want to just, make your own number, and then if you're also in an operation where you're doing ethanol, why don't you just go ahead and measure it yourself? You're losing ethanol all the time. It just is a fact of operating. So. You're wondering, where did all that ethanol go? Where did it go?
Where did it go?
Well, okay. Well, it's you're composting it. Okay, high energy to produce the ethanol, high energy to chill and heat, and then higher cost of operations associated with energy losses, reuse, and hazardous waste. That's just something I didn't really talk about. If you have biomass and you're using like a denatured ethanol or something like that, there's a lot of different types of, like they call special denatured recipes, SDS, or special denatured ethanol, and some of them have they have like heptane. That's a very common one. So they have heptane plus ethanol, right, and then put that together. Sure. But then we have received, like I said, many hemp or crude samples, for example, that have like isopropyl alcohol, acetone.
Yes.
We've seen hexane, heptane. Methanol.
Yeah, those tests have come back.
And then, and then people are like, is there something wrong with this oil? I don't know. I tasted it last night. I felt really weird afterward. It's like, yeah, that's because, you can get drunk on acetone. Like I
do not try these at home.
No, but I used to know a good Russian friend of mine. He said, yeah, they used to drink acetone. I'm like, that is not a very good idea. Don't do that. Okay. All right. So,
and it does not look like that when you drink it.
No, it
either.
does not. It does not. So,
right out of the can.
Here's CO2. CO2 obviously is a colorless, odorless, inert gas. That's another way to
bubbles
to extract. Right,
it's just
it is
bubbles.
A secondary extraction technique, or it's an extraction technique. Is that my phone?
Yes.
Wow.
Busted.
Okay. They told me to put it off, but that thing's going to keep going. I'll just let it go. Okay. Yeah, guys, don't worry about that.
You're used to it.
Plants and water are CO2 eating machines. That's absolutely true.
They are. They love them.
They are eating machines.
Yes.
Germicide, when in a supercritical state, right, it's considered to be a green refrigerant, and also impurities are also nitrogen. Yeah.
I didn't know that it was a germicide when it's in a supercritical state.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But it's got to be under high pressure. So it's used to clean things, right? Yeah. Like molecularly clean them. It's quite good.
That's cool.
Impurities are nitrogen, oxygen, and argon from air, and hydrogen. Okay. So they're gases that are in the air already. There are also some rules.
Them.
There are also some rules. Yeah, and exhaling too, obviously. You can't be exposed to 5,000 ppm for more than 10 hours. So that's one of the requirements of that. So, So anyway, a lot of people ask, how is CO2 made? How is
CO2 made?
Well, CO2 is made from fermentation processes.
Okay.
It's recovered from like
beer.
Yeah, beer, absolutely.
Beer.
It's recovered from like propane or natural gas. They recover that. They have separations where they take the CO2 out, and then they purify it, and then they liquefy it. Now, most of the energetics related to making CO2 liquid so that you can transport it in a condensed state has to do with the compressor. So you have a compressor, it does take energy to bring it from a gas down to that state. So 100 to 200 BTUs per gallon approximately. Okay. Versus something along the lines of 131 to 1,000 per gallon.
And when we go to supercritical, so it's compressed in those tubes or in a tanker truck or something to 100 to 200 BTU for transportation?
Yeah, no, that's the energy it takes per gallon.
That's right. but that's how much it costs in energy to compress it down to that compressed state.
Right, and there are many different
levels.
types of compressors, and some of them are more efficient than others, right? And so I'm using very efficient numbers here. So you may find other numbers that are even up to, a whole 5,000 or something like that. You might even be able to find that. Still,
those are
nothing
various
compared,
levels, sure.
Nothing compared to
Nothing.
The 131 BTUs, and it's actually it recovered. The CO2 is recovered. It's not being made while you're not making CO2. You're not producing CO2 to make CO2. Right. You're just recovering it and reusing it. So it's not like when you burn a propane, or when you burn butane, or you burn gasoline, for example, it's creating CO2, right?
Sure.
That is a CO2 generating process.
Gotcha.
When you then take that CO2 and you recover it and use it for something else, it's
a negative footprint.
It's a negative footprint. Yeah, that's why they call it a zero emissions. That's also why a lot of these guys say it's a green solvent.
Beautiful.
So
that was
here's
a pretty
some
good segue.
Yeah, that is. Here is the green solvent. These guys wrote this article. They're from a company out in I think the East Coast. They've been in the business of CO2 for quite some time. Both really great businessmen and scientists. Alan Rolfe there, but they came up with this beautiful little chart that they published on the ACS website, which is the American Chemical Society website, which is really cool. And they said, hey, look, supercritical CO2 really has some very, very unique and very beneficial green characteristics. It's not flammable. It's not toxic. It's not ecotoxic. It's not abundant. It is abundant. It's renewable. Yep. It's easy to prepare, easy to remove from a product. You don't have to, heat it up and evaporate, so you just let it
happen.
It's non-eutrifying. That means it doesn't really go in and affect water. Okay, because water is it kind of buffers itself when it gets into the water. So it's not really adding a lot. You got carbonic acid, and you have in your water. I mean, so it's not eutrifying. In other words, it won't really affect.
It doesn't absorb into the water. It's always
it does absorb. It does absorb, but it's not to the point where it's a negative effect. Okay, so
I'm just imagining all the bubbles coming up.
Yeah, little bubbles.
Little bubbles. Tiny bubbles.
Does not contribute to smog, and does not contribute to global warming.
Isn't smog spelled SMAUG?
Oh, that's the other kind. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Smog. Okay, does not contribute to global warming either. That's cool. That is cool. So processed CO2 is recycled with minimal release.
That is awesome.
So that's really what we're doing.
Yes. Yeah. Process with minimal release.
If you had butane or ethanol, you really couldn't say that about any of that.
Not at all.
They would all be no.
No.
All of it. Yeah. So that's something you need to think about if you're concerned about sustainability in your operation. So it's not only these American Chemical Society guys who are saying, hey, this is green. It was a big deal. There's a lot of people trying to make it happen for try to reduce and reuse or recycle green solvents. Okay, which were these CO2 solvents and use them for different things. If you could, for example, take out hexane, or if you could take out heptane, you could replace it with CO2. That's a really great thing.
Yeah.
If you can do it, It's really good. So chemical engineering also concurred on that. Hey, it's a supercritical CO2. It's a green solvent. And this is a whole article here written on that particular topic. Okay, so energetics of CO2 extraction, it's a low energy technique. Okay, what I have here is a table comparing the CO2 energy it takes to do 2,000 pounds for CO2, and the energy it takes to do like ethanol extraction for 2,000 pounds, which we already discussed.
Okay.
Now, some people take their CO2 extracts and they also winterize them. And this is something that always comes up. Well, don't you use any ethanol anyway for winterization? You do.
You do. A little bit.
You do. Yeah. So certainly... we to be fair, you got to include that in there. A lot of people do use CO2 alone. Also, they don't use the winterization. But if you want to get to a winterized oil, sometimes you do use you do the post winterization. And this is why it's so different. You can see here, look at this. This is the liters to cool here, 168 versus CO2 extraction plus winterization, 540 liters versus
So
ethanol.
you don't add those together. Those are just one or the other.
Right.
So it's extraction and winterization in the center
Right.
column.
Yeah. This is both of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is concatenated.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the addition.
It's concatenated.
It's concatenated. Yeah. And then here's the ethanol extraction. So you got 540 versus 7,600.
That's
It's not even
crazy.
in the same.
No.
It's not even in the same. So yeah, you're like,
it's less
well,
than 10%.
Oh, you use ethanol. Oh, yeah, you use ethanol. You do use ethanol, but it's so small compared to.
Teensy.
Yeah, it's very, very small.
Teensy.
Okay. And you can see what that means down on the bottom line here. Here's the energetics of heating and cooling, like I was saying, and part of that. So, yeah, you do have this 107 here versus the 14. But look at CO2, how it really shines. This $27. That's for 2,000 pounds.
Compared to ethanol.
It's crazy. That's just energy now.
That's just energy cost. That's just operation, daily operation.
Yeah. And it's also sustainable. So if you're looking for, the green solvent that's not going to have all of these negative effects in terms of VOC, in terms of, very, very high carbon footprint to actually produce it, and then, adding onto that all your losses and everything, and here is the reason, hey, look, it makes good business sense too, right?
Yeah.
Because it is your lowest energy technique. So here's some of the pros associated with that. Green solvent, CO2, low energy to produce, no VOC emissions because there is no VOC in that case. You're not doing the emissions there. You may reuse effluent for greenhouse operations. This is something that we didn't talk about. Well, and I think we mentioned it last week, where you can actually take any of the emissions that you would take out, when you take the oil out, a little bit of the CO2 is entrained in the oil. And, so that comes out a very small amount. You can actually, any type of venting that you need to do, you can just go ahead and put that into your grow operation, and supplement it, right? If you have a huge grow,
do that.
Even small grow, you should do that.
Yes,
so
they love it.
There's my phone again.
High purity extracts to support brand.
Yep. And then higher startup cost and lower solvent power. So those
cons.
are some of the things,
Okay.
So.
And even with that, the startup costs are coming down.
Yeah. Oh,
They are.
right here. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not, even though the con is a higher startup cost, they are higher, but the cost, even for our equipment, is coming down a bit.
Yeah, I think so.
On extraction. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you get more and more units out there, it's just a matter of economy of scale, right?
Yeah.
When you're doing, So the more units you do, the lower the cost. So that's
we're
basically
doing
what that
okay,
is.
and price comes down.
Yeah. So why green operations are more profitable? This is really where the rubber meets the road. So this is a chart that shows operating costs as a function of time. And on the bottom axis, there's months.
Okay.
And you can see here is you say a typical, very expensive, CO2 operation. It's got
that's on a ton a day.
Yeah, it's on a ton a day. Okay, and here's what you would have for a startup costs. Okay, so we're giving them all the benefit of the doubt in terms of the amount of money it's going to take to get it up and running, and then you start operating, right?
Yep.
And here's how much it's costing you to operate. That's really operating, but that's really, really represented by that slope.
Because there's no economy of scale to the operating cost.
Right.
Those costs are a fixed variable.
Yeah. So it's always adding up. So you can see what's interesting right here is it starts to cross over.
Yep.
And anytime after this 9 months here, with the assumptions that I have baked into the model, you can see actually
You're
lower
saving
cost.
money.
You're saving money.
Adding
and
profit.
Actually, this is also probably, if you were to look at this, if you were to, instead of having cumulative operating costs, you put in here cumulative VOC and cumulative carbon footprint.
Oh my gosh!
It would be exactly the same.
Steeper curve.
This would be a steeper curve, definitely, because you have ethanol reuse, you have ethanol changeover, you have all that stuff. You have to manifest waste, all that jazz. And so, there's a lot of different things. And that's what I'm planning on doing here in the future, is kind of coming up with that on Yeah, just so you can kind of just say, okay, here's the carbon footprint of my operation.
This is very cool. This is not quite here, I just said that wasn't quite a table. It wasn't a good graph, but now
There's
we
the
have
table. Yeah.
another table.
So energy to make the solvent, ethanol, high, CO2 low, energy to heat and cool. There's very high usage of energy to heat up and cool down your ethanol. CO2 is very low usage of energy to do that. So from that standpoint, VOC emissions, it's high because, you're not to the extent, if you can get 100% recovery of all your ethanol and you never lose anything, which never happens, then you won't have any VOC emissions.
And VOC again is volatile oxidizing chemicals.
Volatile organic components or volatile organic contaminants.
Thank you.
Okay, and they also have another word they use in there. It's called HAP, which is hazardous air pollutants. So sometimes HAP is regulated, and VOC can be regulated, and they may even.
So tomorrow, after having cabbage and corned beef tomorrow there will be a lot of HAP.
There probably could be, yes. And then waste gen may be hazardous, non-hazardous waste. In fact, this right here is something I didn't talk about, like that. When you have your raffinate is what they call it, which is the extracted material. If you use CO2, what's awesome about that is that it doesn't have any ethanol in it whatsoever, and there's protein in there. Oh. So you can put it in your smoothies or whatever.
Yeah, we've got people looking at what to do with that protein. Yeah. That's very cool.
So that's it.
Nicely done.
All right.
That was cool. Thank you for being here. This is our series on sustainability. I like what you did with that.
Yeah. I think I got a couple more things. I mean, I got to take the typos out of there. But I do think if we can make that crossover graph with a carbon footprint, that would be kind of cool.
That would be very cool. I did appreciate it, and I didn't make a comment at the time, but on one of the quotes you were reading, it said advertisement.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
could probably put a little white thing over that.
That was a little number, I think slide 4 or something. Some of these graphs, can we share some of these graphs with the folks?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that would be really good.
Yeah, the other thing would be, look, go onto the web and go to our calculators page, because we have this, we have the calculator.
Well, all of that is there, and we will definitely be sharing the calculators with you, and we have in the past. But I also think that some of the citations that you have here will help some of our listeners with their investor groups and lender groups. I think that would be really good. I appreciate you being here. This was an awesome deal on
thank you.
Sustainability.
All
We're going to get it.
Let's do it.
Good. Thank you.
See you later.
See you next time.
Bye now.
Are you stuck in your hemp or cannabis business? Are you not reaching your processing goals? Here at Extract Lab, we offer a free 20-minute CBD jam session. A CBD jam session is a conversation with an industry expert, not a sales call. A conversation where you can talk to us about whatever issues you are having right now and where you are stuck. We will help you uncover any issues you are currently having in your business, create a solution to fit your current scale, develop a future scale-up plan based on your needs, and help you make your processing goals a reality, all while getting your business plan back on track. Schedule your free 20-minute CBD jam session at 1-651-600-0036. Again, that number is 1-651-600-0036.